Well, welcome and Merry Christmas. We're only a couple weeks out from that wonderful holiday, and I'm packing up today a little bit of a tricky machine. It's a Model 27 that's going to be heading down to Texas to my friend Ross, who is a master woodworker. And we've collaborated on this project where he's doing the restorative work on the customer's cabinet down in Texas. And I've done the restorative work on this beautiful Model 27 that you can kind of see in the shot here. It started as a rust pit. And if you haven't seen those premieres, or if you're a Facebooker and you haven't seen the still shots of what this machine looked like when it arrived from Texas, you definitely want to check that out. So as you look at it in its glory now, you can be like, holy mackerel, what a transformation. But the tricky thing about the Model 27, it's like any other Singer for the most part, even as far as it's set up with the long bobbin, but its upper tension unit being one of the earliest versions that Singer came out with, where you depress this right here to release the tension, the take-up spring sticks way out past the front of the faceplate. And so I've got to use a little bit of a clever approach to try to safeguard that spring so it doesn't get broken in transport. And I'll get a little bit closer so you can see it. Kind of look at the yeah, you can see that in the shot. See, that spring sticks out probably a good 5 or 6 millimeters at least from the furthest point out of the faceplate. So we've got to build a little bit of a protection for that so it doesn't get snapped off. Now, when it arrived at the workshop, I had to replace a number of the parts on the upper tension, including the spring that had been snapped off. So I don't know if that happened in transit. I never found the piece of the spring, so I'm guessing it happened before for the customer, maybe as they were moving it around or something, because it does awkwardly stick out, doesn't it? Just checking my shot to make sure that you can see what I want you to see. So anyway, we're going to begin the packing process. Everything else is going to be pretty standard as far as the packing process on this Model 27. It's just that take-up spring that we're going to have to use a little bit extra caution for. But I think the restoration turned out very, very good, especially considering where we started. She is a spectacular looking trophy type piece now for the family. And I know they plan on using it because Ross asked if I would also pick up a new treadle belt as well. And I'm giving that to this family that I'll never meet probably as a Christmas present, just to go along with the project work that we did. And you can see some of the sew-offs that I did on that premiere. We did Italian leather. We did saddle grade leather. We did protected full grain leather as well. And this was all being turned by my finger. That's how easily this machine turns now, where before, when it arrived at the workshop, it was really frozen up because of all the rust that had just attacked this machine. I mean, even this bobbin winder over here just looked like a rust pit, and now it's gorgeous along with all the other patina on the machine. And this was a full restore. This was brand new paint, brand new decals. You can see it from the front as well. What a spectacular faceplate they came out with in the early 1900s for these Singer Models 27. And if you're not familiar with kind of the pilgrimage of things, the Model 27 was one of the first models that came out after the VS series. There was a VS1, VS2, VS3, and then on the scene came the Model 27. And following the Model 27, we had great models like the 127, we had the 128, and then just things kind of grew from there. But again, with this earlier version of this Singer, raising the presser foot raises the presser foot, but it doesn't do a thing with the tension. So when you're transitioning between different sew-offs, you have to push this little spoon type thing on the front of the upper tension and hold it in while you draw that thread out to release the tension. It's like I said, it's one of the earliest versions of the upper tension for this particular unit. But just look across that bed. Isn't that spectacular? I know the customers are going to be delighted and be real pleased that Ross did a lot of vetting, looked at a lot of restorers, some of which are in Texas, much closer than Wisconsin. But after looking at all of my work and just reading things about what I've done for folks, he was like, "This is a no-brainer. I'm going to go with this guy in Wisconsin." Plus, he's a cow guy, based on the name of his company being Cow Country. Here's even the back of the machine. Now, this pattern that we're looking at is called the gingerbread pattern, or officially known as the Tiffany pattern. And the Tiffany pattern, I think one of the cool things about this particular pattern is a lot of machines will have a lot of cool stuff on the front of the machine, but when you move to the back of the machine, it's a lot more plain Jane. Not the case with this Tiffany pattern. This Tiffany pattern, I'll set the camera down for a second. This Tiffany pattern is just as fantastic on the rear of the machine as it is on the front. And I think that's important, that you be able to, no matter what angle you look at a vintage machine from, when it's going to be an heirloom in a family, it's got to be equally spectacular. And I'm going to stop this music for now, or I'm going to drive you guys crazy. This is my little music box. You probably can't see it, but I play this only generally at Christmas time. Only at Christmas time do I play the music box. So I'll put some other music on in the meantime. And I've got kind of a mix of music today, everything from cinematic to holiday music. I think I got some jazz on there as well that we'll probably hear while I'm packing this machine up. But all of these decals are prepared very carefully in the workshop. They're hand cut out, and the cutting process alone takes several hours. And then they're carefully, if you go to the Facebook, or if you go to the earlier video on this model, you'll see where I'm actually putting the decals on the machine. It's a very tedious process if you've never done it. It's a timing issue. It's a patience issue. It's a precision issue. You just got to really take it slowly, but at the same time with a sense of urgency, because these decals that are prepared have a glue back, and they start to set and adhere to the paint very quickly. And you've got to move fast enough to get them in the perfect position before they set. Otherwise, you're really going to be stuck. Oh, hey, Paula, and also Mad Dog Sloan. Good to see Mad Dog. Yeah, we're going to be packing up this Model 27 today. It's heading down to Texas to Ross, who's a master woodworker. We'll kind of look at it from this angle as well. The balance wheel on these early 27s is just unmatched by any other Singer model. I can't even, to give you an idea of the size, just for curiosity's sake. About nine and a half inches in circumference. Much bigger than the average Singer spoked wheel. Much bigger. Not to mention, it's also molded in such a way that it's a lot meatier as well. When you kind of look at it from the front, you can see the girth of it across there. It's just fabulous. Just fabulous. But again, our challenge today, not the basic packing of the machine, but it's going to be down near the faceplate. I showed that to you at the opening of this live stream. We're kind of looking at the faceplate now, and you can see right here the spring. I'll get real close so you can see it. The spring for this upper tension sticks way out from the faceplate, probably about 4 or 5 millimeters. So we're gonna have to build a little cover for that as best as I'm able so that we can get that to be protected as we build the fortress around the machine to keep it safe. So why don't we begin? I'm going to go and get this set back over here, and we'll kind of jump into things a little bit. Happy Friday to Paula and Mad Dog, or Sloan, I think, as we usually refer to him. I don't think we've seen Mad Dog for a while, so it's good to see Mad Dog. And Paula is one of my faithful friends and tries to make premieres whenever she can and make live streams. So it's great to have, always great to have Paula here. But I'm going to stop gabbing and I'm going to start building this fortress, because out of any of the states or any of the countries that I ship to, Texas is always the most aggressive when it comes to testing my packing method. They have just beat up some of my containers where when customers get them, they're just like almost like terrified that the contents is going to be destroyed. But thank goodness, because of our method, never have had a machine arrive damaged in all the years I've been doing this. So let's keep that trend going. Yeah, you should do that, Paula. You should totally do that for your 127. And again, the 127 was a later model, real close in design and layout to the 27. Very, very close. So let's get busy. Let's figure this out. And what I thought about doing is, this is one of those little containers like you can pick up in the craft section at Joann Fabrics, designed to hold beads or something like that for crafting projects. But we're going to use it in this case as a cover for this spring on the front of the faceplate. It's going to kind of stick out in a weird way, but it's going to keep that spring from getting bent or snapped off in the shipping process. I just have to loosen up my thread a little bit so I can get that to lay flat on there. So we'll do that first. And whenever possible, I try to send the machine already pre-threaded so that the customer doesn't have to bother with that. They don't have to question how it's going to get threaded. So now we have it loose enough on the faceplate that I can get this cone anchored down. And I'm probably going to reinforce the cone as well so that it's less likely to crack. This is a pretty heavy plastic, but at the same time, I don't want it to crack in the process of being transported. So we'll reinforce it with some good old painter's tape. And you know what else I should do before I forget? I very seldom take off my West Point ring, but I'm going to take it off because this is a finished product and I don't want it to get damaged. So Reggie White from the Green Bay Packers is always gracious enough to hold on to it for me. It's kind of like his Super Bowl ring. And I'm going to take out my watch as well because I don't want this to potentially scratch the machine either. This one I can't get off because I don't know, maybe I put on a little bit of weight or my fingers are swelling up or something, but this is a real tough one to get off. So I'll leave that one on and just be extra careful. This will give just a little bit more stability to this plastic as I ratchet the bubble wrap and the stretch wrap down on top of it. It's basically going to be pressing down on top of it pretty hard, so we'll give it a little bit more stability, and that should give it enough strength to withstand the packing process. I just don't want it to crack. Like I said, this is pretty thick stuff. You can kind of look at it from the front there. These are real nice. And by the way, I've got to confess to you, I don't buy these at a high-end crafting store or buy them online or anything like that. I buy these in packs of 3 at the Dollar Tree. So they're basically like 25 cents a piece. And they're wonderful for holding all kinds of things inside of them. I could even drop probably 3 or 4 bobbins inside of here and send out bobbins to somebody. But see, we just kind of built it up a little bit around the edges, and now we've got to anchor it down, because this is the only part I'm nervous about, is this upper tension spring, this take-up spring. Yep, that should work nicely. Oh, before I go any further, I got to get that needle back in the down position. You always ship a machine with a needle in the down position so that it protects that needle, so that needle doesn't potentially get bent. So I better do that straight away before I forget. And then I always take the slack up on there as well. There we go. And it does look a bit awkward, doesn't it? But so much better than trying to pack this machine with that take-up spring sticking out so far and have it get bent or broken, and then have it arrive down in Texas and have a very frustrated Ross and certainly his customer as well. So this will do a great job as we come around it with stretch wrap and really start to tighten this up. It's going to provide a real good support mounted against the faceplate area. So this is perfect. I love this. I love this. And I might come down this side with one extra little piece of painter's tape just to make sure that it's anchored real well. And we're also going to provide some extra padding as well to this upper tension unit with an extra little section of bubble wrap. The rest of the machine is pretty rock solid. The 27s and 127s are built just like a tank. Now what do I do with this cap? What do I do with this cap? Well, I'll throw it to the side. I might use it for something else. You never know. So I'm just going to rotate this towards the camera now so you can kind of see what we've done. Created this little cone cover for that take-up spring, and then I came all the way around the machine because it's painter's tape. It's going to be fine, and this paint has been curing, and it's got about 10 coats of clear coat on it, a lot like Paula's 201-2. So we've gone around it completely. It's anchored real well. And then I add a little bit extra anchoring on the faceplate here for that tape section that came around the other side. So we've got a great foundation now, and I can stop worrying about that take-up spring at this point. So now we're going to take down the rest of the threading points. I like to have things nice and tidy. And again, just as an extra service to the customer and to Ross, I don't want it to get down there and then they're wondering how to thread this thing. So, because I know that they don't have a book on it. There weren't a lot of books available on the Model 27s. Probably somewhere out there, but so we'll take down all the thread points. We'll start down here, down by the bobbin cover. I just put a little bit on there to anchor that down. I always put some around the spool too, because I don't know if you've ever bought any machines and they arrive and someone shipped it with a spool on there and they didn't anchor it anyway, and you open up the box and it's like a rat's nest full of thread that's come loose. So I like to try to avoid that. We'll put a little wrap around there to keep that from happening. This is going to be too taut for me to take something down, so I'll just put a little piece right on this edge over here. Actually, you know what I can do better is I can go from this plate, this maintenance plate, around to the front of the faceplate area with some tape just to hold this nice and tight too. We've almost covered up that faceplate, haven't we? It'll be a lot of fun when they carefully peel this tape off. Actually, it'll probably be Ross that takes it off, and then it reveals that gorgeous etched plate. It's so beautiful, so beautiful. So this is our starting point right here, you can see. And it does have these little mounting points for the table down there. I don't know if you can see those. Yeah, you can. I even painted those too because they were all rusty too. They look just real nasty. So now we'll start to build our regular fortress around the machine because, again, out of any state in the U.S., Texas always makes me the most nervous. But before I do that, I'm going to give it one last wipe off so that finish is as clean as it can be. And I use these microfiber cloths because they're less likely to cause scratching and they just do a better job. The only thing I forgot to do is I forgot to take off this little tag that they always put on there because I don't want that to scratch either. And all of these extra things that I've got some extra sew-offs. I've got the treadle belt. This is going to be a treadle machine. And then I've got the original mount that's part of the bobbin winding system for this machine. And it also allows the treadle belt to flow through there. This is basically mounted to the table that seems to be getting louder and louder. This is basically mounted to the table that Ross has finished down in Texas. So all of this will be packed separately. I'm not going to put anything into the harp space on this 27. Partly because look at that Tiffany decal right in the middle. I don't want anything to even come close to that. So, all right, so let's start wrapping her. And what I do to try to build this up around here a little bit is I usually will come around a couple times, and then I come at an angle and I come up and kind of come on an angle towards the faceplate to try to close that up in there a little bit. Again, because I use packing peanuts, I don't want those to get into the machine or get underneath the machine or anything like that. So we'll be a little bit creative and try to. That balance wheel moves so easily. I've got to kind of anchor around it. We'll start to come around this a little bit, and I'm not putting a lot of tension on this yet. I'm not putting a lot of tension. I want to kind of build us up a little bit, and then we'll start to add more tension. Do the same thing from the other side. A little crisscrossing. And we slowly try to close that up a little bit in there because we want this to be totally mummified, for lack of a better description, I guess. All right, let's change directions again. See, that little crisscrossing we did created enough tension that we were able to close that completely off. Isn't that cool? Now we know there's no peanuts or anything like that, because peanuts are a little bit abrasive too. We don't want those somehow sneaking in here and rubbing against the paint. All right, so I'm going to stop right there. Now we need to add a little bit of extra padding to that upper tension right here. And I typically do about 4 layers, which is probably close to 10 millimeters thick. But you can see if we had just started using the stretch wrap around there, by now we would have bent that spring right off. We would have just bent that, we would have bent that spring right into the faceplate. So that's why we had to build that little cone support for it. And I realize the upper tension is all metal, but it's really thin gauge metal. It's very fragile, so we got to just provide a little bit of extra protection to it. Now we have everything in place. We've got it pretty much closed off. Got to do a little bit more down here. I'm going to start pulling on this a lot harder than I was before. Add a little bit more tension to it. Now we're going to do a little crisscrossing on the top as well, because we have to close that all off also. See what we have so far. Kind of come across like this. If I'm able to lift the camera, but I want you to look at the top. So this is all closed off now, but now we have to give strength to this stretch wrap. So we're going to go all the way around the machine. Everywhere there's stretch wrap, and we're going to reinforce it with our packing tape to give a nice, solid, what would you call it? Almost like a crust, a foundation around it. Because this right now is kind of flimsy. So we need to make that more sturdy. Hi, Christina. I'm just peeking at the chat real quick. Hello to Christina. Hello, Eddie. And again, I don't want to ignore you guys, but I know Paula is there, and Paula will take real good care of you, answering any questions or helping you in any way she can, because she's a sweetheart. And that way I could focus on getting this packed up. Part of my urgency in wanting to do this earlier in the day than I normally would is we're expected to get about 8 inches of snow. We've already gotten about, I think if you add up all the days that we've gotten snow, we've gotten about 11 inches. There I am. We've gotten about 11 inches so far. And between this afternoon and tomorrow morning, we're supposed to get another 8 to 10 inches of snow. So this is really early in the season. We're going to end up with about 20 inches of snow just going into around mid-December. So who knows what will happen in January and February. It'll be interesting. So we're basically giving stability to that stretch wrap right now. I've gotten things mailed to me, and all they are is stretch wrapped, and there's really no stability. So we're giving more stability to this, and then over the top of this, we'll add our first layers of bubble wrap. Because this is not in a case or anything else to protect it, we'll probably go 6 to 8 layers, especially with it being Texas. Texas, like I said, they just beat up my packages. Maybe they take offense to some guy calling himself cow country from Wisconsin when they're the real cow people down in Texas. I have no idea. But we're going to really build a fortress around this so that it arrives safely. And I think I did it in the other premiere when I actually sewed with this machine. But if anybody's willing to Google Shiner, Texas, Shiner, that way this group that's in the live stream and others that watch this later can be educated on what's cool about Shiner, Texas. Shiner. That'd be cool if someone's willing to do that. So now we've got a real nice solid shell, an inner shell around this Model 27. And I don't know if I even mentioned it, but this Model 27 is from 1908. 1908. So you can do the math on how old it is if you'd like. And then we also have to reinforce the top as well, the crown of our internal packing, because right now all this is stretch wrap. We got to give it a lot more stability. Boy, the size of this balance wheel just continues to amaze me. Let me kind of rotate this around as we're finishing this phase of the packing. But I think I measured this at 9.5 inches. And it's probably a good, believe it or not, the width of this balance wheel, as far as the meatiness of it, is 22 millimeters. 22 millimeters when you measure it from side to side. That's huge. That's a huge balance wheel. Oh my gosh. It just puts to shame the spoked wheels, because everybody thinks those are the cat's meow. You see what we've done so far. We got a real good start. A real good start. Just checking what I do is I kind of run my fingers over the machine, and I feel for any soft spots where the tape didn't cover that stretch wrap. And we got a little bit of that right here underneath the balance wheel. It's real soft underneath there, so we need to hit that area too. There we go. There we go. All right, let's start on the bubble wrap. And again, my preference is, everybody's different. My preference is to put the bubbles facing out, because they act like little airbags. Make sure you get it all the way down around the edge of the bed. I'm up a little bit high right now. Because we're going to follow this up with stretch wrap, I got to move my magnify glass. Have you guys seen this before? This was given to me as a gift. It's just a hoot. And it kind of is our page 34 magnify glass, our official one. But I'm going to move it so I don't knock it over. Yeah, we'll go around this with stretch wrap and anchor down this bubble wrap next. And then we go over that with packing tape afterwards to reinforce that. And again, this machine has no other protection than what we're giving to it. No other protection. So we're going to really bolster it up even higher. If we had a case, then it would be different. We could step it back a little bit, but we're not going to do that. So far on the back, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exactly what we're aiming for. Between 6 to 8. So I'm going to stop right about there. Show you from the top. All right, let's anchor it down. This kind of feels like anchoring music too, doesn't it? Kind of pull this up a little bit as you go so that it doesn't droop down on you and you lose some of your coverage. All right, let's go at it now. And I do a little crisscross on top too, just to give it a little bit more stability. But right now, all we have is bubble wrap and stretch wrap, so now we need to reinforce it, right? Always build it like an onion, layer by layer by layer, and you'll never have a machine, no matter where you ship it in the world, you'll never have a machine that arrives damaged. I shouldn't say that. I mean, crazy stuff can happen, but you're going to take all the precautions to make sure that it doesn't. Like I always say, hope for the best, plan for the worst, right? I'm just looking at the chat real quick. Oh, Eddie's got a 1910 model 27, it looks like. Christina, is Christina our friend from Brazil, if I remember correctly? Christina, I think, might be our friend from Brazil. If anybody wants to use Google Translate to try to interact with Christina so that she can feel like she's part of the live stream, that would be cool. I think the last time Emma did it for us. someone's willing to at least greet her in that language, that would be cool. I think that would be super cool. In fact, I'll take a second to do that right now. Let's see here. Language of Brazil. Language of Brazil. Okay, so she speaks Portuguese, you guys. English to Portuguese. So what I typed real quick is, welcome, Christina. Paula can help you. I will continue to pack. Thank you for joining us today. So we've got that layer of bubble wrap. We put the stretch wrap over. Now we just added that packing tape to reinforce the stretch wrap over the bubble wrap. So we've got a really good foundation now. Really, really good. Just kind of rotate it towards the camera. So now, as a courtesy to Ross, when he gets it down in Texas, we'll mark the front and back so he doesn't have to guess. Even though the balance wheel kind of gives it away a little bit. Unless it's a left-handed sewing machine, then the balance wheel could be on the other side. They actually made some of those. So now we need to protect the top and we have to protect the bottom. First of all, I'll reinforce the top though, because all we have is the stretch wrap over the bubble wrap up there right now. So again, always check for soft spots. Kind of like when you're picking out fruit at the grocery store. That was one of our tricks in Wisconsin, at least when we were growing up, and you could go to the grocery store with your mom, and the big deal was when she would let you pick out the fruit. And they always showed us that if you're holding a melon, for example, if you use your thumbs and you push around the edges of the top of the melon and it gives a little bit, that means that it's almost ripe. So that's a good melon generally to pick out. So, all right, so let's build some extra protection for the top, and then we'll focus on the bottom. And this is some extra bubble wrap that a customer sent with their machine, so I always try to repurpose it when I can. I've never been to Brazil. I think all of us would love to visit Christina in Brazil, wouldn't we? Let me see. Paula just wrote something to me. Oh, we have a new person here as well, or at least we did. Lord Humongous. I've never seen Lord Humongous as part of the live stream or a premiere before. And Paula, don't feel like you have to translate. I just sent a quick note to Christina explaining that she was welcome. We're glad she's here, and I guess she could always use a Google Translate as well to translate her Portuguese into English too. So yeah, do what you can do. I think she feels welcome. I hope she does. All right, so we're building a little bit of extra protection for the top now. And we're going to go right around 6 layers. 6 layers. I folded this twice, so you can see the level of protection we're giving to the top. And we already have some because of the edges overlaying it, but we'll add just a little bit extra. So you got that in place now. Six layers is probably the equivalent of about 12 to 15 millimeters of bubble wrap protection. So I think that provides a good level. We'll go ahead and anchor these down, and then we'll focus on the bottom of the machine. we get that take down, and once we get done taking down the other side on the balance wheel side, we'll go all the way around this several times to reinforce this capstone of bubble wrap that we just added. But we've got a real good start. We've got a really, really good start. So now we're going to concentrate on this end. And we don't need quite that much overhang, so I'm going to trim it back just a little bit. There we go. All right, so now we go over the rest of the bubble wrap with packing tape as well. And when I'm lifting it to rotate in that, I'm on the faceplate side, I'm reaching underneath the bed because I don't want to grip it in the middle where that cover is for that take-up spring. So I'm trying to consciously remind myself of that. Don't grab higher up on that end at least. And I'm really pleased that people send me notes and tell me from around the country, the US, and around the world, they've started using this packing method. And again, I know a lot of people, because it's a lot quicker, they've been going to that chemically activated foam stuff that expands around the machine. But I've explained that it leaves gaps. It's not nearly as tight and thorough as this method. And also when it dries after the chemical process occurs with this new packing stuff that a lot of people are using, it becomes very stiff and brittle. So it doesn't provide any shock protection or cushion for the machine at all. And I think that's a huge mistake. It's a huge mistake. Okay, so this is what we have so far. 6 layers, 6 layers, 6 layers, 6 layers, 6 layers of bubble wrap, about 12 millimeters of protection around the machine. Now we have to concentrate on safeguarding the bottom of the machine. Even if we have a bed of peanuts in the packing tote, it's not enough. We've got to give some really good solid protection on the bottom, particularly because this Model 27 has those cast iron pedestal feet, and it can break off very easily if they take a hard hit. So now we can safely lean the machine back. Oops, I made a mistake. See where I'm grabbing? I got to grab down here. Lean the machine back, and now we're going to concentrate on the bottom of the machine, providing protection for that as well. So we've got a pedestal foot there. This is really a recessed pedestal foot, as is this one. So the Model 27, it's got a little pedestal foot here as well. Basically has a tripod support system, one here, one there, and then one up here. And these are really not high profile pedestal feet. So they're not nearly as vulnerable as, say, some of the FOF machines. The FOF machines sometimes have them sticking out another 10 millimeters, and they can very easily, as they extend out further, they become more vulnerable. They can get snapped off. These are really not a huge risk, to be perfectly honest with you. But we're going to reinforce and seal off the bottom anyway, partly because we don't want any packing peanuts to get in there. So let me come up with a plan for that next. So I'm going to get some more packing tape ready because we're going to need it. Yeah, that'll work nicely. These are basically foam. And again, these came from a customer when they shipped their machine to the workshop. You don't need a flashlight. I was using that in the corner over there. But these will work real nicely for giving extra support and protection to those pedestal feet. And then we'll seal off the bottom as well. So we'll anchor one at a time. I'll focus on anchoring this one first. And then we'll anchor one on the bottom and then one in the upper right corner as well. That one's going to fit a little bit better, I think. Kind of see what we're going to do with those, right? And we should have more than enough vertical clearance. This is going to add about another 3 inches to the height. And that's one thing when you're using a tote approach like I do, you've got to be aware of the clearance on the sides and everywhere else. That's only about 2 inches. It's going to add 2 inches of vertical height. So along with the machine, we're looking at probably about 14 and a half, 15 inches. So we'll have more than enough clearance because, again, you don't want to pack a machine in a tote where the top of the machine is pressing against the cover of the tote, because if it takes a hard hit, no matter what you do as far as the packing, it might compromise it. So leave a little bit of a clearance underneath the lid for those packing peanuts to add extra protection. See, we just ran out. You do enough packing, you kind of get an intuition about when you're going to need more of that tape. There we go. We'll reinforce that a lot more. sometimes cut my fingernails because I like to keep my fingernails clean, and if they get too long, working with the grease and the oils and everything I do in the workshop, it's really hard to keep them clean if they're too long. But then I can't catch edges of tape and stuff. It's kind of frustrating. But you make do, don't you? Figure it out. So we'll add one to the upper right as well, and then we'll add this last one to the bottom. So we'll have all three of those pedestal feet, even though they're not horribly vulnerable because they're so low profile, we'll take those extra precautions anyway. And then we'll seal off this bottom so none of those packing peanuts can make their way into the machine. I've got to lift up this machine just a little bit and kind of tuck this underneath the edge there. You can see that these are kind of interfering with each other, so I've got to trim this one back just a little bit. That should work pretty well, I think. I'm going to make one more little cut over here as well so I can tuck that in a little bit further. It's sticking out a little bit too much. So I just made a little notch in there so we can butt it up against the bottom of the machine. Otherwise, it was kind of awkwardly sticking out, so it wouldn't have been as secure and safe. There we go. I don't know if you can see that with the camera or not, but we made that little notch, and now we can kind of tuck it in there and make it nice and tight. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pick this machine up and I'm going to rotate it. Right now we have the front facing up. Now we need to rotate it and put the face down so we can get this other side as well. And we've got enough protection, we aren't going to do any harm to the machine. So you can kind of see what I'm doing on this edge over here. This one right here, we're closing this off so that none of those packing peanuts make their way in. And we'll obviously overlay this several times more with tape to make it a lot more strong, a lot more sturdy. I don't know if our special guest with the first name of Lord is on right now, because we've had people kind of hopping on and hopping off, which makes sense. It's the end of the week. It's a Friday. It's very busy to be doing a live stream. But if Lord is still on, I'd love to know where you're from. Where are you located? Lord Humongous, I think, is in the screen name. So we'll just continue to build this up. Again, we want to seal this off completely so none of those packing peanuts make their way into where the machine is and potentially, gum up the works. Packing peanuts inside of a sewing machine is never a good thing. And I've had them arrive like that before. So and if you join the live stream a little bit late, you'll want to rewind it once we're done and check out what I did to protect that take-up spring. That's part of the upper tension assembly on this model. It's got a take-up spring that sticks out from the faceplate, probably a good 10 millimeters. And it's really, really vulnerable to get bent or snapped off. So I took some precautions on that. And if you're shipping a machine similar to this, you'll want to do the same thing. Because if that take-up spring gets bent, you're going to have a lot of issues with your sewing. A lot of issues. Just using my hand, this is all sealed along here, nicely sealed all the way around. So now we're going to lift the machine up again real carefully, and we're going to target this area down here because this is all open right now. And then we'll reinforce this multiple layers of packing tape so that there's no punch through risk when it's being shipped. Notice I kind of come from different angles. I'll go down and then I'll go across. The more you crisscross like this with your packing tape for the bottom, the more stability, the more strength it's going to have, instead of just going one direction, either like this or like that. So So our bottom is completely sealed now. We're absolutely, there's nothing that can get in by that machine, which is exactly what we want to be doing. So now we're going to be going lengthwise to anchor these 3 cushions down even more and to reinforce what we've already built. So I'm just going to rotate this a little bit towards me, and then we'll go from length to length. Oops, I didn't make that one quite long enough. That's okay. There we go. And there's not a big risk of these getting, there's not a huge risk of these getting displaced in shipping because the weight of the machine is going to be pushing down on them. But I don't want to leave anything to chance. So I'm going to go across here probably about 3 more times. Then I'll bring the machine, I'll flip it completely over. We'll do 3 more times down here. And then we'll probably add a little bit extra reinforcement down here where these hinge mounts are attached to the machine because they're not sharp, but they kind of push out a little bit. We'll just add a little bit more support there so that those don't punch through somehow. Again, it's going to Texas, so Texans, I don't know, they must have kind of angry postal workers down there. Nice and solid. I love that. I love that. That's perfect. And ultimately, when we get it back upright again, I'll go around the entire machine right where these join together, where these cushions join to the bottom of the machine to add more reinforcement so there's no possibility of any separation. So now we're going to reinforce this as well on the other side. And I've had a couple people over the years, since I introduced this packing method, they start as skeptics and they'll write something like, I'm really impressed by your packing method, but is that really, do you really need to go to that level? Do you have to be on steroids when you're packing? And each one of those individuals, there's only been about 3 of them that have written me notes similar to that, you know, kind of a skeptical tone, but still polite and friendly. You know what I mean? And then it's months later or years later, they'll write me back and they'll say, I'm using your packing method now because I was using mine. I thought it was sufficient and I had a machine arrive damaged. You know what I'm saying? You have to sometimes start out as a skeptic and then you become a believer. It's just the way it works. And if you don't know anything about what I do at all, I ship machines around the world. I've shipped them to the UK, to Australia, Japan, Switzerland, Ireland, Canada, and knock on wood, never have had a machine arrive damaged, ever. Been doing this over 20 years. So I'm not a hobbyist. I don't think so after 20 years. Hopefully not. All right, so a little bit more reinforcement, and then we're going to flip her back upright and go around that as well. All right, really solid now. We got this anchored all the way around. Now we're going to reinforce it like that as well. See, it sits nice and level. Has just a little bit of a cushion to it because of these extra supports we gave to the bottom. So the machine is a good, as it's going to be riding in this tote down to Texas, it's a good solid 2 inches, 2 inches off. It's suspended. It's suspended 2 inches above the bottom of the packing peanuts and the bottom of the tote. So it can bounce and have a real nice, like shock absorbers, have a real nice soft ride going down there. All we're doing is giving it a little bit more anchoring where those cushions are attached to it. And then always give it a nice press down. This is the back of the machine. Again, we've got about 12 millimeters of bubble wrap and other cushioning protecting the rear of the machine. 10 to 12 layers, or 10 to 12 millimeters of bubble wrap here. We basically have 6 layers of bubble wrap around the entire machine. And then we've got these real thick cushions on the bottom of the machine as well. This is, I agree, it's packing on steroids, but the amount of time I spend packing, and I spend a lot more time talking with you, and I love that. I love interacting with you. It's brilliant. But if I were just to attack this and just pack, it'd take me probably about an hour and 40 minutes. How much more time will I spend explaining to that customer why their machine arrived broken and going through the claims process and everything else you have to do when a machine arrives damaged? This takes so much less time, and I can sleep well at night knowing that my machine is going to arrive safely, whether it's going to Washington State like that Adler 185A, or whether it's that featherweight going all the way out to California that I just shipped, or it's this machine that's going to be heading down to Texas. You just sleep well at night knowing you've done the job right. Don't you love that balance wheel? Look at that thing. It's huge. So that's the packing method right there. The only thing left now is to get it into the tote. And again, depending on how high it sticks up in the tote, I'll determine how many, how thick of a layer of packing peanuts I can put without pushing the top of this too close to the lid. I want to leave a gap of about like that, so that if that lid is taking a real hard hit, even though we've got this padded very, very well, we don't want to have this pressed against the bottom of the lid. It makes the machine too vulnerable. So that's what I'll do next. I'll get it into the tote, determine how much clearance I've got, build a field of peanuts around it. I'll pack and pad these final items. This is all metal right here. I'll take it out and show you. So this is going to be padded so that it's not anywhere close to the machine. See, I repainted this for Ross as well. This will get mounted to the table that he just finished. And then this is where the treadle belt comes up through from the bottom and then goes over the balance wheel. So I know he's anxiously awaiting this as well so he can anchor it to that new table that he refinished. And you can go to other packing videos and see the steps that I take after this. The machine is ready. The machine is done. So we're going to get it into the tote now, build that field of peanuts, get all these other goodies in there that Ross is going to be looking for. And then we'll put our lid on. We'll strap it like you've seen me do in other packing videos. I usually do it lengthwise first. It's a combination of stretch wrap and then multiple layers of strapping tape go around that. And I do it lengthwise. I do it widthwise as well. So you basically have a crisscross of anchoring that lid down. And then I always seal off the bottom as well, so that, because if you don't, when you do a crisscross like that, you've got this gap in the bottom of the tote where the tape comes together. You want to seal that off as well, because if they're dragging it across the bed of a USPS truck and there's a rivet sticking up or something like that, it could very easily cut your strapping tape, and all of a sudden you've got a mess. So I always close it off so it slides very smoothly. And then I also, where those two pieces come together on top, I bring tape across that as well to make them a single unit. Make sense? I'll look at the chat real quick. Otherwise, I'm going to wrap this up and just concentrate on packing out the rest of this for Ross's 1908 model 27, because what time is it right now? I don't even know what time it is. It's going on about 11:15. In about another 2 or 3 hours, we're going to get hit with some real heavy snow in this region. They're saying about 8 to 10 inches is going to be coming down. So I've got to get this to the post office and get this, under cover before that snow hits us. So I'll look at the chat real quick and see if I've got to respond to anything. I don't think I do. Oh, hi, Emma. Emma looks like she joined us as well, which is wonderful because she works in the healthcare field and she had a CPR class she had to do this morning. I know. Yeah, I wish Lord Humongous joined us for this live stream today. What a clever name that is, Lord Humongous. And I'm just curious where Lord Humongous is from. I never saw a response, so they may have clicked off, but hopefully they'll join us again. And it was great to have Christina from Brazil join us again today. And Paula was a wonderful hostess in trying to make her feel welcome, as well as I was into this packing thing that I do. So that's fabulous. Oh, and Maddie is with us as well. Welcome, Maddie. Madeline and Paula and Emma are all from Florida. They're all Floridians. So always great to have Florida people join us as well. Yeah, I'm grateful. Emma wrote, she's grateful for Google Translate. So am I. I wouldn't have a clue. And again, for any of my moderating team, which they're incredible blessings to me. Thank you to Paula. Thank you to Emma. Thank you to Bill as well, because they can kind of jump into that Google Translate when we have somebody visiting us. And if you don't know if you look at the language, if someone types something in the live chat and you look at the language and you don't have a clue, you're like, I have no idea what language that is. All you have to do is mouse over it with your left mouse button down to highlight it, click your right mouse button, copy it into the clipboard, and then if you paste it into Google, it'll right away tell you what language it is. That's how we figured out that Christina was talking to us in Portuguese. And we were able to interact with her a lot. Emma did that quite a bit in the last premiere, and I know Paula has tried to get involved with that a little bit as well, because Paula is married to a Canadian, and they speak French up there, Canadian French or whatever it is. So we just have so much talent, don't we? We so many talented, brilliant people that help me out. I'm so grateful. So good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Well, I don't see anything else I have to respond to. So I'm going to finish the packing process, get this into the tote, get it down there, get it heading towards Texas, get all these other goodies packed up as well. I'll probably throw in a sewing book like I usually do as well. And I can't address it to anybody because I have no idea who they are. Again, this is Ross's customer that I've done this machine for, and I'm going to mail this to Ross, and then Ross is going to present it to them. So if I give them a sewing book and I write something in it, I'll probably write something generic like "Dear Friend" or "Dear Texan" or something like that. I have no idea. So anyway, thanks for joining me. Have a great weekend. Think about us in Wisconsin as we're digging out of a major snowstorm over the next 24 hours. And God bless you guys. Thank you again to my moderating team. Thank you to Emma. Thank you to Paula for all the support you give me so we can do more of these live streams. And There I am. I'm going to finish packing this and get it heading towards Texas. Texas. Yeah. My music ran out. What the heck? Yeah, we'll put on a little bit more music. And once, just so you guys know this, once I end the live stream, the chat is still active. So if you're in a conversation with someone and I end the live stream, you don't have to, just let things drop off there. You can continue to chat with them. I don't know how much time they give us before it goes inactive, but once I end the live stream, if you're chatting with someone, if Paula's interacting with Emma, or you're interacting with one of the other folks in the live stream, continue chatting, get to know each other. That's how Paula and Sunny became best friends. As Sunny is going through her cancer treatments right now, they met in a forum like this. So you can make incredible friendships through forums like this, whether it's a premiere where we have live chat or whether it's a live stream like this. So step out of the shadows, make new friendships. Maybe you'll become a best friend to Christina over in Brazil. Maybe you'll become good friends with Dr. T, who's over in Finland. You just never know, right? You never know. So, all right, I'm going to end the live stream. Continue chatting if you'd like, okay? God bless you guys. Take care. I'm just writing a quick little note to Christina. And so you don't have to translate it because I know she'll be able to read it straight away in Portuguese. But I just wrote, thank you, Christina, for joining us. Oh, I spelled joining wrong. Oops. I spelled joining wrong. She'll be able to figure it out. I hope you feel welcome. And I know she does because you guys are great. Thank you for any of our international friends that visit these. Thank you so much for making them feel welcome. Thank you so much. All right. God bless, guys. Talk to you later.